When a website project is approached as a design project, the questions that are being asked and discussed internally and externally will often revolve around: how do we refresh the design? How do we uplift the appearance? What will the visuals be? The questions might be, can we have animation here, video there, interactivity over here, for example? And these are not bad questions. They all need to be answered sooner or later. They're just not the first ones that need to be asked. Many B2B website projects fail in one way or another. Some fail to go live on time or at all, while others launch but fail to have the desired impact or to make any mark whatsoever. We've talked to literally thousands of B2B marketers about their websites, past, present and future, here at Blend, so we have a good idea of how those projects tend to go under different circumstances and how the marketers leading them feel about them. What it's revealed is that there's one common misconception that's often at the heart of website projects that are challenged in one way or another. And in today's Websites Decoded, I'm going to share what that common misconception is and help you avoid it so you can lead your project to success. Did you know that most businesses only use 20% of their data? That's like trying to solve a puzzle with 80% of the pieces missing, or paying for a coffee that's only 1/5 full. Point is, you miss a lot, unless you use HubSpot. Their customer platform gives you access to the data you need to grow your business. The insights trapped in emails, call logs and transcripts, all that unstructured data that makes all the difference. Because when you know more, you grow more. And when you get a full cup of coffee, you can do more too. But I digress. Visit HubSpot.com today. So what is at the heart of so many B2B website project failures? Well, the root confusion is that they are treated and classified and approached as design projects, when in reality they should be treated as strategic growth infrastructure projects. Now, that misclassification is often, nearly always, not conscious. It's the subconscious result of many years in the marketing world, many experiences, good and bad, lots of misinformation circulating online, and so it isn't a conscious decision to treat the website project incorrectly, but it's often the end result, and that's what leads to many of the challenges that lead to failure. When a website project is approached as a design project, the questions that are being asked and discussed internally and externally will often revolve around: how do we refresh the design? How do we uplift the appearance? What will the visuals be? The questions might be, can we have animation here, video there, interactivity over here, for example? And these are not bad questions. They all need to be answered sooner or later. They're just not the first ones that need to be asked. Furthermore, in a conversation about a website design project, discussion around the creation of the necessary site strategy, so the keyword plans, the information architecture and the sitemap, or the impact and value of original web optimized copy, or the huge importance and challenges associated with effective coding for both editability for users, internal users, and for performance on the front end, let alone the effort involved in going live, launching, redirecting, monitoring, maintaining, and fixing bugs as they appear. These things all feel like extras, additions to an already stretched budget and timeline, and so it's very hard to account for them within the plan that was already sort of forming mentally. Whereas approaching the project as an infrastructure project leads to better outcomes. Let's use an analogy. Imagine you're using a retail store that's losing sales. A design-first approach to solving that problem might say, well, let's repaint the walls, update the lighting, and get new shelving. Whereas the infrastructure approach to that project might say, well, why are customers leaving without buying? Where in the journey are we losing them? What other aspects of the experience are ineffective or unsuitable? And design may be the issue or one of the issues, but it might also be that the store is in the wrong location for the target customer, or the product placement or mix is incorrect for the customer that can be reached, the local demographic of the store. Maybe staff can't answer key questions and provide the information that customers need in order to purchase. Or maybe the checkout process is too complicated. All of these things could be impacting the store's poor performance, and fixing them could have an even bigger impact than design on its own. And this is the approach and the mindset we should apply to our website projects. When you approach your website project as an infrastructure project, your mindset is right to capture the best possible set of requirements for your project and to prioritize them in line with your goals and needs, and to set the most sensible and appropriate timeline and budget for that project, preventing difficulty later when the other critical elements of delivery come to light. So what does the infrastructure approach for a website project really mean? Well, it means, looking at your project through very specific lenses aligned to your goals. And first, knowing exactly what your website's job is, what job it needs to do. It should be generating qualified leads. It should be enabling sales to have productive conversations. It should be turning away or filtering out poor fit visitors or prospects who are not your ICP, saving them time and you. And it should be educating buyers so that they are sales ready when they have their conversation with sales and they're primed to convert. I want to tell you about a podcast that's essential for understanding how AI is reshaping B2B marketing. Marketing Against the Grain, hosted by Kip Bodnar and Kieran Flanagan from the HubSpot Podcast Network. They consistently translate the latest AI developments into actionable marketing strategies you can actually implement. In one episode on loop marketing, they tackle a critical reality. 58.5% of Google searches now end without a click, and traditional linear funnels are becoming obsolete. If you're building websites that actually convert, you need to understand the marketing strategy behind them. Marketing Against the Grain, available wherever you get your podcasts. Second, you need to understand how buyers arrive at and go through your website, what their journey is. Worth bearing in mind here that this will not just be online visitors from search engines and AI tools. This might be prospects who've been reached by your sales team or referrals from your partners. All these different audiences will come to your website and go on a journey. You need to understand what questions do they need answering at each stage, and therefore what information needs to be presented and in what structure. What conversion offers match their needs and their level of readiness to give up time and information and are aligned to your successful sales process. And where in that process, where in that journey are you losing them right now? What do buyers do and not do on your website that you can affect? And thirdly, it pays to think for the future to build something that can be optimized. The first website you build does not need to be either perfect or finished, and in fact it should evolve and change over time. You need to be able to test and run experiments on your website to improve the conversion rate over time, and anything that cannot be tested is really just art, an online brochure that will not serve your needs effectively in the future. Just for a moment, I want to think a little bit about why the design mentality trap is so prevalent. Why do so many come at their websites like this, and what's driving that? Well, there's many reasons. One is that the design is the tangible thing. It's the part that's very easy to see and perceive and communicate and demonstrate and evaluate. It's very quick and very easy for humans to decide which design they like better than another one, whereas strategy is much harder to make a decision around. It's not as accessible. Design does, of course, feel like the best way to make progress. We cannot go live until we have a design, and you can see design taking shape at every stage. Design can be reviewed and commented on and proofed, and so it does feel like the essence of website progress. But it's only as important as all the other deliverables: the strategy, the copy, the code, the plan, and all those things. Thirdly, because of those other points, it's how we as agencies have tended to position ourselves. We showcase our best designs, often with results, especially if you go and have a look at the Blend website to back that up, but it's not what people see and grasp in the first instance. Good design does grab attention and build trust. It is important, but it is not obviously the only thing that is important within the success of the project. But the risk of allowing ourselves to be overly focused and concentrating on those aspects is that we won't take into account the full gamut of things that determine the performance of our current website and what the performance of our new website can or could be. So if you're about to initiate a website project, how do you change the mindset and take an infrastructure approach? Well, before you seek any quotes or before you start to talk to vendors, think about what your success metrics are. What are the numbers that need to change? Every business has revenue goals, and those revenue goals can be extrapolated out to pipeline opportunities, high intent conversions, leads, and visitors. So you can build a picture of what your website needs to do in a numerical sense. You can map your current customer journey and conversion funnel and see where people are converting and dropping out. And you can compare the relative value of those conversions and journeys and pages in terms of revenue generated or influenced. Talk to customers, find out what they like and dislike about your website, or review their self-reported attribution data or call transcripts to get insights. And you can use market research tools like Winter and others to get information from your ICP to inform your website project. During your project, don't overlook critical components like messaging, positioning, wireframing, site mapping. Design comes after all of those things are fixed, and should be the driving forces of that design. After launch, realize that launch is the beginning, not the end of your website's lifetime. We need to be monitoring constantly, identifying what we can improve, using heat maps and analytics to come up with ideas to test and experiments to run. Treating your website like a living, breathing thing that can be continuously improved as opposed to a one-off design deliverable. If you come to your website project and treat it as a piece of strategic growth infrastructure, then you will make the best possible decisions about what it needs to be, how it needs to be delivered, for what budget, on what timeline, and what components or requirements are critical, nice to have, and unnecessary. Start with that footing, and your website project has the highest chance of being a success, both in terms of going live on time and on budget, and having the desired impact that's visible and measurable to all within your business. Here's a quick story from us at Blend and our customer, Daytel. Daytel were launching a completely new product into a brand new market with a different type of buyer. To do this effectively, they knew they needed to rebrand, overhaul their website, and rethink their go-to-market. We partnered with them to achieve this, transforming their brand, rebuilt the website and their new identity, working with them long-term to shift from lead generation to demand generation. The impact? 35% more revenue, 63% more profit, and 800% ROI from marketing, and a HubSpot Impact Award to recognize the success. This is what happens when you have a partner who has strategic, creative, and technical expertise all working together. If you're in a similar place and want to discuss how we help your businesses grow, just head over to blendb2b.com.